Savings now at your neighborhood Lowe's. And I'm WDEF News Fall Chief Meteorologist Patrick Moore on AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240.
Lights. This is it. We'll hit the heights. And oh, what heights we'll hit. On with the show. This is it.
Good afternoon, Chattanooga. This is Dr. Danielle Mitchell, and this doc is in the house. This afternoon, the topic of discussion that we'd like to cover is strength training. And I know that there's a ton of questions out there that people oftentimes have. Should I strength train? What type of strength training should I be doing? And so today we have a very special guest joining us, Cassandra Riddle, strength training coach, as well as owner of Bloc1440. Welcome to the show, Cassandra.
Thank you, Danielle.
All right. So just in case you were forgetting, you're listening to AM Hot News Talk Radio. We're on, obviously, the radio at AM 1240. And we're also on Facebook and Twitter. And you can also follow us via live stream broadcast, www.hotnewstalkradio.com. So let's go ahead and start out here. I'd like to talk a little bit about your background, because this is just such a fascinating story when I hear it, and I haven't got to hear the full story either. So I understand you're currently working. You're the owner of Bloc1440. Tell us a little bit about what Bloc1440 is about.
Bloc1440 is a small training facility. So we do personal training, one-on-one or small group training, and everything is specialized and individualized. So everyone is treated differently.
Yeah.
And it's not a Globo gym, but you kind of have to...
You're basically coming in for one-on-one training.
Yeah. And then it could be, if you like the group atmosphere, you could be involved in a group. So,
yeah. So, and your focus really is on, like, let's say if I were to go to just a standard gym with stuff, Cass, and how would my experience at Bloc1440 be different? Not only just the one-on-one, because I could go to a regular gym if I wanted to, and I could work with like a personal trainer there, but what is different about Bloc1440 with regards to that one-on-one attention?
So what's different about us is basically my education as a trainer. So
tell us about that.
Gotten through Jim Jones. It's spelled G-Y-M.
Jim Jones. So if you guys see that on her shirt.
So, and it's a facility out in Salt Lake City. So the general public probably doesn't know much about them, but until recently, I guess when the movie 300 came out, turns out they had trained the actors in that movie, and everybody was astounded by their abs, and they thought, "Oh God, it's probably CG. Those abs are just drawn.
I want that six-pack."
And they're like, "No, they're actually real." So they wanted to find out where they got their training. So this is, from that point on, Jim Jones to certain people was well known.
Okay.
But to the general public, they don't really know who they are just yet.
Yeah. So it's basically on the verge of just now starting to get, I think, some really well-deserved recognition.
Exactly.
So when we talk about Jim Jones and the certification, what did you have to go through to get that certification process?
In this particular gym, they require you over a period of several years to come to certain seminars. So they have a beginning, an intermediate, and an advanced seminar, and you're there from anywhere from 4 days to 7 days. And then they require an internship.
So it's like this intensive training camp that you go to.
Yeah.
And then how long is the internship?
The internship lasts a month.
Oh, wow.
And this is...
so how's that different from like a personal trainer certification that you might see very commonly in a gym?
So a personal training certification usually is about a weekend and a test online.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So,
all right.
So you can be certified with NASM or ACE over a Saturday and Sunday workshop.
And so those are two different certifications that you commonly encounter in just like a standard gym facility?
But Jim Jones requires a lot more. It took me 3.5 years to get this certification.
Wow. Ladies and gentlemen, so that's 3.5 years of experience and intensive training to do what she does as a strength training coach.
Yeah.
Okay.
And also it's one of these things too. They're really concerned about who represents them. So this is a certification that can't be bought.
Yeah.
And you have to earn it, and it's not guaranteed.
Oh, wow. So you actually have to, like you said, you earn it. And this is something that I think that speaks volumes actually about what you accomplish. It's much in the same way, like for me and what I do in sports medicine, and just to even become a physician, they're not going to pass everybody. And that's for a good reason, right?
Yes.
There's some things and some people that maybe you don't want practicing certain types of professions. And it's obviously the same with strength training, because there's some, when we look at training in general, whether it's endurance sports, whether it's strength training, there's some bad stuff that can happen. And the proper training and certification helps us avoid that. Quick segue, I will say, I was very pleasantly surprised this morning. So I'm on my second session of working with Cassandra, and
still a little sweaty.
Yeah. So we actually just came. So we're showing our guns today. So in this process of me coming to my strength training challenge, so I decided, you know what? My classic thing is I do Ironman, and I'm your classic endurance athlete. Well, I wouldn't say classic, but I'm out there and I'm doing it, I race to finish and I race to have a good time. And I say that because in my mind, I'm always thinking about, I don't want to injure. In my years of competitive cycling, I have had the unfortunate incidents of, getting mowed over by a car, and that gave me some long-term injury to a couple of places on my body. Coming to the strength training, when I decided to do this 8-week strength training challenge, and it's not going to be just for 8 weeks, but we're looking at this in a very where am I going to get in 8 weeks so people can see that progress? And I'm posting that progress online through my Facebook account. And I'm tracking everything from my strength training goals and being realistic and helping people how to set those goals, but also looking at quality of sleep, looking at mood, nutrition. These are all my big favorites. Sleep, all these things come into it. I was hesitant because I have had past experience where I've worked with strength training coaches or personal trainers, and my old injuries came out to haunt me instantly. And so even in this last week, when I was starting to kind of warm up to this exercise, I was actually really apprehensive this morning, thinking like, oh man, if this old shoulder injury comes back, this is not going to be good. Ladies and gentlemen, I spent my first full intense hour session with her today, and I'm happy to report that my shoulder isn't, as we say, lit up. It's actually doing quite well. Awesome. So this speaks to, I think, Cassandra's experience in her training.
Well, and also my philosophy is like, don't do anything that hurts. Like if it hurts, that's a sign your body's telling you to stop.
Right.
So you don't do any movement that hurts.
Yeah. I tell my patients that all the time. One of the hardest lessons I teach athletes, and a lot of times it's too late because they're already in the medical clinic when I'm seeing them, is listen to your body.
And there's a lot you can do if you even have an injury.
Yeah.
There's a lot you can do in the gym to work around that. I worked out side by side with a Olympic triathlete that is missing both of his legs.
Yeah.
This is a triathlete.
Yeah. Phenomenal stories. And so it's really about, and there's not only the physical, like what can you do with your body, but the other thing I really like is the emotional component of inspiring and motivating people to go beyond. So today, last repetition on my new friend, the ski erg. Cassandra hops right in on the other ski erg, and we're going for a time. And boy, I got to tell you, we're racing at the end of that. And that was great for me because that competitive part of my inner athlete's like, all right, it's on. We're going to do this, So I really appreciated that.
Yeah. Awesome.
So, in your Jim Jones certification, then this took you 3.5 years to get.
Yeah, it did.
How do you feel like, and how long have you been in strength training now?
About 4 years.
4 years. Okay. Tell us a little bit about, because this is the part of your story I love. What did you do before you came to strength training?
I got paid to scream for a living.
I I get paid to scream at people too. Usually I don't do it very often, thank goodness. But
I scream at people in a different way. though, now.
Yeah. So tell us about your career before coming into strength training.
I was an opera singer. So yeah.
And what part of the country were you?
I was based out of New York City and just traveled for a show. We freelance. So I would go to Europe for 6 months in Italy and sing with that opera company, and then go to California for 5 weeks and sing with that opera company. So we're just traveling around and based out of some place, and my place happened to be New York City. So
I gotcha.
Yeah.
And so what made you decide strength training? I mean, because opera and strength training, that's like,
yeah.
I mean, you got some good core going on.
Yeah, I didn't just transition from opera singing to strength training. It was an evolution. So when I stopped singing, I actually kind of had met all my goals in singing. I got an international career, won some awards, sang in some houses that I wanted to sing in, sang the roles that I wanted to sing. And I needed to move. So as an opera singer, I probably weighed maybe 45 pounds more than I weigh now.
So we've got another big loser here, ladies and gentlemen. This is awesome. You go.
So, I was very athletic as a high school kid, junior high school and high school kid, and stopped moving when I sang opera. It was very concentrated on just specialized singing. So I wasn't moving, and I just needed to move.
All right.
And my opera career, I wanted to do something else. I didn't quite know what that was. And my body needed to move. So I actually just started running, ran marathons, did triathlons, started rock climbing, started moving, and then started training myself very seriously for rock climbing. So my training sort of evolved in me wanting to know more for me.
Okay. So you were satisfying a hunger for really knowledge, and also just that happiness of like, there's something else out there that I'm going after. And you might not have the complete picture at that point. Like, I'm sure you didn't think like, I'm going for a Jim Jones certification at that point.
Not at all.
But that's part of the journey.
It is. And that's sort of how I found Jim Jones. And I thought, well, the question that was coming to my mind, or the issue was, I was getting older and I was just running and climbing and training for just running and climbing. So this and pull, this and pull. So you're running linearly and you're pulling. So there was none of the other stuff that goes along with being a balanced athlete. So I because I wasn't working the antagonistic muscles.
So you were basically, and this is a philosophy that just in like the last few years, I've also come to recognize as being very important when we're trying to strengthen our bodies. And we'll get into this in a couple of the segments here later. I really find it fascinating how when, like I'm talking with my runners, for example, runners think that to run faster, they need to move their legs more. But it's not actually that at all. There is a bigger component that needs to be addressed. And that's where I, as a physician, will see a lot of injury happen when people aren't properly strength trained for what they're asking. And it doesn't even have to be for running, for example. It could be, somebody who's just trying to attempt maybe going out on a walking program, or just trying to be more active, getting up off the couch. I've got some severely deconditioned patients in my clinic, and I can tell, right away when I'm like rooming a patient, when somebody's getting up off the couch and they have to do the rock, lean forward, and then use something to push themselves up, automatically my assessment, weak core. And we have a bunch of stuff that comes off of that. So in the next segment here, we're going to talk, we're going to cut to commercial break here in just a little bit. But I do want to let you guys know, we're going to start talking about some of these benefits, particularly as it relates to both men and women, and get more sports specific with stuff as well. I also want to remind you guys, ladies and gentlemen, you're listening to AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio. You can follow us on Twitter. We're also on Facebook. Please, we invite you. We also take live calls during these segments. Our phone number for live calls is 800-8949. And if you'd like to also, if you have any questions about my practice, I'm Dr. Danielle Mitchell with the Chattanooga Sports Institute, and this is Cassandra Riddle. She's our extraordinaire strength training coach from Block 1440 with her Jim Jones certification, joining us today. So let's get in a little bit here too. So you got your Jim Jones certification 3.5 years, and now you've been doing this for a little over 4 years. How long have you been practicing here in Chattanooga?
For been to Jim Jones, gotten my first level of a certification there, and started training people. I was CrossFit certified. I had to be CrossFit certified in order to train people individually out of a CrossFit facility, but I'm not a CrossFit coach. So
I want to explore that more in here in just a sec. So we're going to get ready and cut to commercial here. But again, ladies and gentlemen, you're listening to AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio. If you weren't able to catch the broadcast or its entirety today, and you want to go back and hear its entirety for the full length of the hour, we also rebroadcast on the YouTube channel as well. All you have to do is search Hot News Talk Radio, Dr. Danielle Mitchell. Today, we have Cassandra Riddle joining us today from Block 1440. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Compass Media Network's coverage of the NFL. Hi, this is Jerry Recco. Join Kevin Ray, Danny White, myself for all the action.
Hot News Talk 1240.
If it's the NFL, it's right here.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
Hot News Talk 1240.
Tired of insurance companies? Tired of doctors that won't spend time with you? Do something different. Leave the sick care model of medicine and come to Dr. Danielle Mitchell, the Chattanooga Sports Institute and Center for Health, where we're interested in long-term health solutions, not the quick fixes. Come see me, Dr. Danielle Mitchell, at the Chattanooga Sports Institute and Center for Health. I'm all about the long-term healthcare solutions and doing what's best. On the web, you can find me at ChattanoogaSportsInstitute.com. That's ChattanoogaSportsInstitute.com. Or call us at 875-1005, 875-1005, or find us on social media, Facebook, Dr. Danielle Mitchell, or the ChattanoogaSportsInstitute.com. Let's go, ya!
Hey, all you gun enthusiasts! Carter Shooting Supply has just bought a crazy load of guns and is having a crazy huge sale event going on now. A huge inventory of Smith & Wesson, Glock, Ruger, and Taurus, all on sale. Taurus guns have a mail-in rebate for $25 to $50. All long guns and all ammo on sale too, just in time for hunting season. Come in and take advantage of this crazy huge sale event going on now at Carter Shooting Supply, or shop from home by going to CarterShootingSupply.com. Highway 58, Harrison. Check our prices before you buy.
Are you tired of working in corporate America, or have you recently lost your job and would like to consider owning your own business? If you are, please call me, as I can help you look at franchises or business opportunities that fit you, the economy that we're in, and the type of businesses that are right in the greater Chattanooga area. After I help my clients find the right opportunity, I also help them find the best way to finance the business, including paying yourself through the startup phase. If you would like to learn more about opportunities that may be right for you, please call me for a free assessment. My name is Bruce Krebs at the Entrepreneur Source. Phone number is 423-875-5621.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240.
Good afternoon, Chattanooga. This is Dr. Danielle Mitchell, and you are listening to This Doc is in the House. We're here on AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio. We're live stream. If you can't catch us, the signal might be a little weak. You can go to www.hotnewstalkradio.com. You can also participate with our news feed on Facebook as well as Twitter. And we're also taking live phone calls during our broadcast. The number to call in is 423-800-8949. The focus of today's show is strength training. Yes, we're trying to do gun work. Yay, that's what we're going after, right?
Oh, come on.
Feeling good. And actually, you know, there's nothing, no ego at all to you about feeling good about the way you look as well. Joining me today is I was going to call you Dr. Cassandra Riddle. I'm always like, everyone's a doctor to me. Cassandra Riddle, Block 1440, and she is a Jim Jones certified strength training coach who has recently started a new location for Block 1440. Where are you located, Cassandra?
At 1601 Gulf Street. It's in the old mill building where they host events.
Yeah, just there off of Main Street, correct?
Right
on
Main
East
Street.
Main, I think.
Mm-hmm.
If somebody was wanting to get into contact with you, how would they go about doing that?
They can go to the website, bloc1440.com.
Okay. And then is there a phone number or an email as well?
Has all the information you need.
Awesome, you guys. So if you're interested in wanting to start a strength training program or have questions for Cassandra, we invite you to go to her website at www.bloc14, and that's block BLOC 1440.com.
Do you know what that means?
You know, I don't. I'm curious. Tell me about this.
Well, it's a French government term that means a gathering of several people for a common interest.
Nice. Well, you're building a common interest with stuff.
Right. Nail on the head. Just several people.
It.
We're here to have a good time.
Yeah. And, I can tell, to the listeners, my experience, so Cass and I actually knew of each other over social media. Mm-hmm. And then we just recently met face to face this last week when I was doing my baseline evaluation with her. And, which is also really cool because she spent an entire session looking at what my strengths and what my weaknesses were. And, to have somebody spend that amount of time and really key in on what not only your goals are, but where I didn't even know functionally I had weaknesses. I mean, I knew I had weaknesses. I always call myself weak sauce when it comes to strength training, but to have an expert there to pick that out was just a really great experience. So whenever, we're talking about bringing these groups of people together, you can tell right away, like in this last week, that you have a passion for what you do, which is to me really important. I just, especially in my referral network with stuff, I try to pick people who, obviously have a very well-grounded knowledge base about what it is that they're practicing, and then B, somebody that's really passionate about coming to it. And it sounds like you really had this life calling.
I've always done what I love to do.
Yeah.
Just to figure out what you love to do and then do it.
Yeah. I know happiness is a choice, right?
Exactly.
Right. So the topic that we're discussing today is strength training. And I want to start covering some of these, debunking myths, because my skin sometimes just crawls when I'm reading stuff through like mainstream media. And one of the things that two things actually that I really try to focus on for people is, number one, body image, and dropping these negative stereotypes that, like, women should be this, like, little stick figure and no muscle. And tell me, what's your philosophy on, like, do you think women should have muscle?
No, not at all.
Not at all, right? Women should not have muscle. All right, we're going to start flexing. What is it like when somebody, like if you have a woman that's coming into you, and let's say there's no sport background per se, but somebody that is just starting out of the gate, and they're thinking, and these are some of the kind of myths and stuff that I hear perpetuated all the time. Well, I don't want to gain that much muscle, but I just want to tone.
Yeah, I love the tone.
What's your response to somebody that is coming in wanting to, they're definitely interested in wanting to become healthier. How do you approach that person?
So the term bulky, I don't want to build mass. It's all in the programming.
Yeah.
So that's my job.
The programming of the workout?
The programming of the workout. That's my job, is to figure out how, and it's a science.
Yeah.
We're either going to, I've had women come up to me and say, I want to build mass.
Yeah.
She weighs 103 pounds. She currently works out with me and she wants to be stronger and bigger. So we have her on a hypertrophy program.
Right. So hang on, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to cut to break. One sec.
He would seek the post if Republicans would unify behind his candidacy.
Florida Congressman Daniel Webster says he is still going to run for Speaker of the House.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're back. Sorry for the technical difficulty there. All right. So we are talking with Cassandra Riddle, Block 1440 strength training. And we were just getting into talking about how we have somebody who's a woman who's just starting out and I think has had kind of the influence of, social the mainstream media myths that's like, women shouldn't bulk up. They should, the tone, but I don't want bulk. How you would approach that. So you said it's in the programming with stuff, how you tailor the workouts.
Yes. So two things, it's genetics and programming.
Yeah.
So genetics has something to do with it. So look at your mom, look at your dad, and that's the body you have. If you came from your mom and your dad and you know them. So that, we work with that in mind as well. So some people can look at a squat rack and get big legs. And some people can look at a bench press and get a big chest.
Yeah.
And they don't have to do anything. So I always work around that. But also as far as women are concerned in this topic of bulk, it takes a long time. I mean, years to build mass.
And to keep it on.
So if for 14 years, I've been pulling and rock climbing, my body weight, not lifting weights. And genetically, my arms are bigger.
Yeah.
So, I have the muscle tone and the structure because I've been doing it for 14 years or 15 years now. And also my genetics.
So I'm sure you get the question, and I want to see if you can help dismantle this other myth or something about like, I have to work out every single day to get this type of, because I mean that in my background with endurance sports, a lot of times we'll see where people will work out, boom, boom, boom. They'll like, you might see somebody who's trying to strength train 6-7 days a week, very taxing schedules, and then boom, they injure. And I see the same thing with it's overuse injury a lot of times in endurance sports. So when somebody comes in and they say, Cassandra, I want your biceps, how often do you work out to do that? What's your response to that?
I say it'll take 15 years.
There you go. I love it.
And depending on your genetics.
Yeah. Okay.
But it does take work and consistency, but it doesn't mean showing up to the gym 7 days a week. It really does mean it's smart programming.
So on average, like when somebody's first coming into strength training, and let's say that they have some modest goals, like, what, I just want to feel stronger. I don't want to feel winded when I go up a flight of stairs. And, I don't have that much time. Like I can't spend 5 days a week in the gym. How many days on average would you say that somebody should be like dedicating to some strength training?
Well, for the average person that's not training for a particular activity, is 3 times a week. So you can go hard 3 times a week as long as they're not in a row. And then
why not in a row?
Well, you may get away with doing 2 days a week in a row.
But what happens on that day off? That's what I'm getting at. Because this is so important.
So if you go hard one day, it's ideally go hard one day, go easy the next day.
Yeah.
So your body can recover so you can go hard
Bingo.
again.
She said the R word.
Recover.
Yeah. Right. So that's a huge part. And recover and rest.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
So
this is the mistake that your injured people that work out 7 days a week get into.
Yeah. Or even, doing high intensity, the biggest bulk of the week, like 6 days a week, high intensity. And that's really where, when you actually start looking at a lot of the exercise physiology data from looking at subjects who, whether it's a case report series or when they study people who go hard for their workouts, 5-6 days a week, they don't actually have performance gains.
No.
They usually have losses.
Yes.
And so this is really where rest and recovery in between, like not every day should be hard, right?
Your nervous system needs a break.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's something very magical about sleep. When I talk about in my practice, especially when I do physical exams for people, I talk about the 4 pillars of health. Number 1, nutrition. To me, that's 80% of your equation. Number 2 is activity. And 2, 3, and 4 kind of fall in the same lines with stuff. So number 2 is activity. Number 3 is emotional well-being, and number 4 is sleep. And it's amazing, especially coming up to the taper for Ironman Chattanooga here a few weeks ago. I was huge this year about like, your body goes into this recovery mode where I was like, for any time that I could nap, or if I could get between like 9 and 10 hours of sleep, because my body was asking for that, I felt so much better, and my performance gains were better. And I openly share, my training program. So this year for Ironman Chattanooga, I peaked right around 12 and a half, 13 hours for my peak workout. And I have some, I have this career that is, it's busy. And then B, I had to train very differently this year because I had a vascular condition in my pelvis that really changed the way that I was able to train. So that rest and recovery became very important to me as I was going out trying to attempt another Ironman.
And I love the way you're talking about this on your Facebook page, and you're approaching this as a holistic approach. That's what we do. Jim Jones taught me that it's about the whole picture. So I usually, for instance, I would start at pretty much everyone's training. I start with an interview. I go up to you and I say, hey, how much have you slept? Have you eaten?
Yeah.
What have you, are you sore?
Where are we at today?
Where are we at?
Yeah.
So, and that's sort of fluid, even though I have an idea of what you're going to do that day.
Yeah.
It's fluid.
Yeah.
According to, say I'm stressed.
Yeah.
My life situation is such that I'm going through some family problems, or my work is just too much. We have to pay attention to that.
Absolutely.
Because you only have one body.
And the off chance that, and this is one of my, going into what I do in medicine, anxiety and stress, it's just not in this silo. It impacts everything. We stress eat. Our sleep is disrupted. Our workouts might be different. And that's really where you can use your workouts in a way to diffuse that stress. You can also use your nutrition to help you. We have a call. Hang on just a sec. Caller, you're on the air.
Well, first of all, thank God that women have become doctors in the past 30 years, because I'm 57 and men doctors just dolts. Just put something in your body. You can smoke that cigarette. Get a little exercise.
And it's all good, right? Especially after you've had your pack of cigarettes a week.
Women are nurturing, they're caring, they're articulate. You guys are incredible.
Well, thank you. We appreciate that.
In that, how important, and I say this because of my 12-year-old and 9-year-old, is when they touch sugar, it's like they're on a high. It's almost like they've been injected with cocaine. What is going on with the foods and the school systems knocking physical fitness and not having money for those programs, and just all I see is a bunch of fat kids and fat adults. What's going on?
Yeah, so how
can we fix this?
This is a great question. So to kind of, I guess, summarize what the questions were here from our caller is that our school system, number one, there's just not, I think, enough money in the system, not only to have a healthy, nutritious lunch, but B, there's been some very important things that have been cut out from the school system, such as home economics. We're getting into a big picture here about like what's wrong with our nation nutritionally, and sugar consumption is one of the biggest things, especially when we talk about added sugars to foods. I'm okay to a certain point with people having natural sugar, like if you're having a piece of fruit, and that apple is giving you natural sugar, there's nutritional density that's coming along with that apple. That's a real food source, and there's other vitamins, minerals, and nutrients that come from that. But when somebody is downing, let's say, a Gatorade, which is pretty much like high fructose corn syrup, you're just having sugar with a little bit of water, and it's not even a good sugar or carbohydrate to consume for athletic performance. That's where we get into the issues with stuff. The caller was asking, my kids consume sugar and they're bouncing off the walls. Well, so number one, sugar does actually act as a potential stimulant. And especially when we look at some of our beverages now that are picking up in industry sales. So we've seen that this is really an interesting point. In the last 3 years, the sale of soda has gone down. And I will say that one of our major manufacturers of soda that's based in Atlanta has been, I think, taking note of this, and they are now piping money into a research group that is coming out to say that, you know what, drinking soda isn't bad for you. There's no data to show that, it's causing any ill health effects, which really got the medical community in uproar, because there's an amazing litany of data out there about the bad effects and the negative health effects of sugar consumption. But they're trying to reverse it. But this Coke industry, or the soda industry, is trying to actually get this reversed. And so we'll see what happens. But the second thing that I think is really important to pay attention is sugar is an addictive substance. And there is plenty of research data out there now to show that. So when we talk about how kids are being subjected to this, open your eyes with stuff. When you are checking out at, let's say, like TJ Maxx or Home Depot, for crying out loud, there are so many sugar items right there at checkout. There's like these aisles now, these lanes of like sugar, like if you check out at some of the big department stores, and they're targeted right at eye level for children. They're in very bright, colorful packages. I mean, any 5-year-old would be like bazonkers over seeing this stimulation of stuff, and it's sugar, sugar, sugar. So I do actually want to talk a little bit more about this when we come back from break. If you haven't figured out, you're listening to AM Hot News Talk Radio. Dr. Danielle Mitchell. This doc is in the house. Today joining me is Cassandra Riddle, Jim Jones strength training coach and owner of Bloc1440. When we come back, we're going to be talking more about strength training and nutrition. Stay tuned.
After this chilly start, we've got lots of sunshine and great looking weather again for your Wednesday. A little warmer though, highs lower 70s tonight. Clear, cool lows into the mid 40s. For Thursday and Friday, continue dry, lots of sunshine, warmer with highs mid and upper 70s. Fall is in the air at Lowe's, so hurry in today for big savings on everything you need to get your home ready for the season. Don't miss out on fall's best savings now at your neighborhood Lowe's. And I'm WDEF News Swell Chief Meteorologist Patrick Core on AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240.
This is America Now with Meghan McCain.
Al Gore running is crazy. You're flying around in your private jet all over the world, and you want average Americans to care about the environment. Don't you think you should be doing your part as well?
Meghan McCain, weekdays at 7 p.m.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240.
Here you are, working to keep your customers happy and to manage your cash flow. IRS problems are the last thing you need, but here they are, flapping about you like vultures. Get help from Eric Pelton and his team of accountants at E.J. Pelton Company. Audits, letters, proposed return changes, 1099s, penalty threats. Pelton Tax Resolution Services brings peace of mind and helps you keep more of what you've earned. EJPelton.com. Offices on Brainerd Road and in Saudi Daisy, just north of the Bilo. That's EJ Pelton. Call 622-3156. Think ahead, 622-3156.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240.
This is Dr. Danielle Mitchell, and this doc is in the house. The focus of our discussion today on our show is talking about strength training and talking about it from a holistic view. Joining me today is special guest Cassandra Riddle, and she is a Jim Jones certified strength training coach who owns Bloc1440. If you guys haven't checked out her place, she's located right on, she's next to the mill over in the south side of Chattanooga, just off of East Main. And if you want to check out more information about her gym and her training, you can go to her website at www.bloc1440.com, and block is BLOC AM1440.com. Also, you're listening to AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio. Please join us on Facebook as well as Twitter. If you don't get a strong radio signal and you want to catch the show in entirety, we also rebroadcast after the show on YouTube. And if you go to Hot News Talk Radio, you can find our show posted there. We also are taking live calls throughout the show, and the phone number to call in is 423-800-8949. So in our last segment here, I do want to just hit a couple highlight points about the last question, because this is this nutrition cast, as you've gotten to know me, is just, it's such a huge part of what we do. And I talk about that, you know, in the 4 pillars of health. Nutrition to me is like 80% of that equation.
Well, yeah, you can't, and no matter what you do in the gym, strength training or anything, or what kind of athlete you are, you cannot outwork a bad diet.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's like, you know, when I try to tell people and we're increasing athletic performance, that's usually one of the first questions out of my mouth, especially if somebody is struggling. I ask them like, okay, we're taking a nutritional history, and I am amazed at what comes out of people's mouths sometimes. And it's not their fault. Like, you know, some of these things that are perpetuated out there as healthy things to do, wow, I'm just blown away. Absolutely blown away. One of the things that I find really fascinating is, you know, when we look at the data per se, data I put in quotes because not all data is good data. And just because you read something on the internet doesn't mean it's true. So, and then I also say the second recommendation there is, if you're not trained in statistics, please don't interpret studies, because it's just not a good situation. But, you know, what I've really been noticing, especially in endurance sports, is that there is really only a focus on carbohydrate consumption. And then when you've gone in, and if you are kind of an old school person, people will say, or, you know, they've suggested studies have, and these I don't think are good studies, that you shouldn't be consuming high amounts of protein and fat, because those two things will slow down your digestion in theory, and you're not going to absorb them. Well, here's where I buck the system on that. I say, you know what? We have an altered digestion anyway when we're working out, because blood flow is going to other parts of the body, especially in endurance. I mean, if you look at blood flow studies, not a whole lot's going on here in the GI tract. It's all going to working muscle. And so your digestion is actually potentially going to be slowed at that point anyway. And what I see happening on a lot of the race courses is that everything that's out there is carb, rapid sugar, poor sugar, like high fructose corn syrup. One of the worst sugars, in my opinion, to have dominate in an athletic situation. So I'm really all about trying to get people to introduce, and I'm sure this is largely important in strength training, we need to be consuming more healthy fats. Healthy, I mean anti-inflammatory fats like your omega-3s, and then also looking at introducing higher amounts of protein, because that's going to be helping with muscle function. Now, hang on a sec. We have another call. One moment. Caller, you're live on the air.
Hey, good doc. I just have a question. I know you're talking about your fitness, but how about if you're just some guy or gal who's been hanging out on the couch too much and needs to get back in the swing of things? I'll kind of hang up and listen, maybe catch the girls on YouTube.
All right. I'm going to let Cass field this one, because this is a great question. So now you have a guy that's coming to you, Cass. So before we were talking about the gal that's just starting out, guys, do you think guys should strength train? And if so, how would you start them out?
Yes. Off the couch. Just get off the couch.
Couch
and
is kill.
So yeah, and we start slowly.
Yeah.
You know, you're not thrown into the wolf pit just yet, you know, and you'll be a little sore, but it's really important to do that. I was once on the couch. So I know how that feels.
Yeah.
And I know how it feels to get off the couch.
Yeah.
And I never cussed so much in my life.
Yeah.
When I tried to do that for the first time, you know, for the first month.
Yeah.
You know, just, but it's important to move muscle. As we age, and I don't know how old the caller is, but as we age, we lose muscle mass. So we also lose our testosterone levels drop at a rapid pace. And in order to hold on to muscle mass, we must strength train. And so the muscles, think about this too. you see an elderly person out there and they're walking really slow, and it's like if the wind blows, they could blow over. They've lost their power, their strength. So if you were to keep that power and that strength, the wind wouldn't blow you over.
Right. And you'd find that you'd actually be much more resilient and active through your day. You know, the other caveat that I add to that, again, from the holistic view too, is you strength train to keep muscle mass. Also nutritionally.
Yes.
You eat nutrition, high, healthy proteins
to keep
and fats.
muscle mass.
Yeah.
And another thing, back to the endurance athletes. I mean, if you're running a marathon, you are actually cannibalizing your muscles.
You're breaking down
You're
muscle.
breaking down muscle, but you need to keep muscle. That's why it's so important to strength train, especially in endurance athletes, so that you don't lose that muscle mass.
Right. So keeping, and I want to say too, because this was an interesting observation that I was again reminded about today during our workout, was a lot of times I think people have in their mind this set of, well, I'm just going to go to the gym and I'm just basically like, you know, I'm just going to circulate from machine to machine to machine. And it's kind of this very static workout, and there's no real like elevation of heart rate, because elevation of heart rate is also a very important factor, especially as we age. As you elevate your heart rate in workouts consistently, that helps you keep your speed.
Oh yeah, we lose our speed.
Right.
We lose our fast twitch.
Yeah.
So the muscle's ability to react quickly.
Yeah. So fast twitch is basic, ladies and gentlemen, there's different types of fibers in the muscle. There's fast twitch, slow twitch, and there's a third type, intermediate. Fast twitch is like when somebody goes out to do a fast sprint, we need to have bam, 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 bam. Those fibers are firing rapidly. And so Cass is absolutely right. Data shows that as we age, we're losing muscle mass and we're losing a lot of fast twitch fibers in the muscle.
Yeah.
So, you know, being able to strength train and then nutritionally support the health of that muscle, those are two very important concepts with stuff. So the other thing here that I want to get back to on the caller's question is, you know, how do you get somebody who's, you know, just like they're on the couch and like, how do I start this program? And the first thing I always throw out there is, caller, you got to want it. You've got to want it and be willing to take that first step. So, you know, people will oftentimes say like, well, I'm just so tired, I can't get in there. Okay, sleep first. Get adequate sleep, because that's going to give you hopefully enough energy and motivation to get into the gym in the first place and to start making some good, healthy nutrition changes. For somebody like we've talked about who's just doing average everyday activities, I want to just feel better. Cass, you're saying, you know, we'd ideally like to strength train 2 to 3 days a week. How many minutes at a time in a session would you say?
Minutes at a time. Are you strength training? I usually have an hour's session. So we do a lot of things within that hour. We will warm you up cardiovascularly. We will.
You hear that, endurance athletes? We actually do cardiovascular and strength training.
Yeah, you do. And you go hard sometimes, and you get to learn what going hard is. Endurance athletes that don't go hard.
Yes, exactly. Guilty.
Yeah. I am
no
guilty of that too. Yeah. And I usually in an assessment, kind of, you know, what I did with you is learn, see you move and learn where your weaknesses are. And then we just start doing things in a very safe way of how to deal with movement issues, flexibility issues, strength issues. So, and then I just gradually work someone up. I'm not going to slap a bar on your back and tell you to squat 300 pounds. Just try. Coming off the couch, you know, there's a smart progression.
That's and you know, stepwise, gradual. There's you know, when we look at a lot of times I'll get questions of like, well, how much should I be adding on in the workout? And there's some, you know, very rough rules with stuff, you know, increasing like in distance, for example, for endurance, you know, the 10% rule. And I'm sure there's a graded increase in strength training as well. You know, you're not going to put somebody, like you said, 300-pound squat, you know, right out of the gate with stuff. So it is a very gradual progression. And that's one of the things when I talk about, we've got another caller. Hang on just a sec. Hi, caller, you're on the air. Hello? Caller, you're on the air.
Hi, how are you?
Hi there. What's your question?
Hey. question is, I had a daughter from the age of 2.5 until 8. She has asthma, and she was taking the Q-Bar. It's a steroid pumper twice a day to regulate her asthma. She hasn't been on it in 2 years and has been doing great. Is there any kind of side effect or negative effect that you think she would have as a result of, being on that for that long?
So the caller actually has a medication question, and I'm just going to field this very quickly. Steroids, there are issues and side effects with steroids that, especially when on them long-term, can cause quite a few health issues. The other issue is being off. If she did have asthma and she has symptoms that return, then I would say my best recommendation here would be she needs to be followed by her pediatrician to make sure that her lung function is doing okay. Because if she does need to restart the steroid, then that would be something, because we don't want her to have asthma in the meantime. Going back to the discussion here about strength training, so one last question here before we end the show. Cassandra, I want you to talk about how, should runners come in and strength train?
Oh, yes.
Is it going to make me,
yes.
what's it going to do for me if I'm just a runner and I'm going to strength train?
Well, think of running too as you're kind of using one part of your body. So your upper body is just not getting anything. And again, if you're running long distances, you are cannibalizing your muscles and you need to build them up.
Does it make people go faster?
It can increase your horsepower.
Yeah.
So that's what, if you want to go faster, it's not really about, it is about going fast on a track and training those fast twitch muscles, but it's about gaining more horsepower. And you can only do that with weights.
Yeah. And so, I want people to think about this for people who are getting into, especially like longer distance running. So, we're talking like, the half marathons and higher for distance. I can always pick out people who have probably no strength training, cross training happening in their routine, because they come in and form in running is completely, they're doing like the knuckle dragging shuffle where they're completely hunched over. The core is just fatigued beyond all belief, and they've lost their power generator at that point. The power generator in running you're looking at is actually coming from core and glute. And so if we have some very underdeveloped core muscles as well as your hip girdle and glute, then that's when we don't see, you're not at your performance optimum. B, I get a lot of knee pain that comes out. It's called runner's knee for a reason, you guys. So strength training can also not only help people in performance in terms of, speed and how they feel throughout their run, but it can also help people avoid injury, which is big.
And if they were to get injured for some reason, you bounce back quicker.
There's no doubt in my mind. I will say that people who, in my practice that I've observed, and also in my own personal life, when big things come up, big things like unexpected surgery, for example, my athletic population, who I think maintains at least a very good base level of fitness and is pretty disciplined about their nutrition. When you get you're given an average hospital stay of your procedure, you're going to be in the hospital, let's say, like for me, I was told I'd be in the hospital close to 10 days for something that I had to have done. Morning of day 3, I was out.
Done.
And I was walking pretty much the first day. So strength training and nutrition is, as well as emotional grounding, sleep. These are all such important things. And I'm really thankful and grateful to have had Cassandra Riddle come on here today and talk to you guys about just some tidbits on strength training. If you're interested in getting what we call a calf kicking, then I want you to check out Cassandra Riddle. Her website is www.bloc1440.com. And she's got all of her contact information on there. If you're interested in contacting me, I'm on Facebook, Danielle Mitchell, or you can find me at www.chattanoogasportsinstitute.com. You're listening to AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio. This doc is in the house. Join us in 2 weeks for our next session. And I really thank you guys for listening in. Afterwards, you can also find us on YouTube. Just search Hot News Talk Radio and under Danielle Mitchell or Cassandra Riddle, and you can view the whole entire show in its length and go back and hopefully get yourself started on a really good, nice strength training routine. I I hope you guys have a wonderful afternoon, and thank you so much for joining us. Bye-bye.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
WSDT Sunny Daisy, Chattanooga.
CBS News. I'm Steve Kathan. President Obama's issued new drug policy directives ahead of a visit to the state where the heroin overdose rate is twice the national average. White House correspondent Pam Coulter says he's going to West Virginia with an eye on heroin and prescription